Alrighty everyone, it's Luke with Al's TV, and today we're here to talk to you a little bit more about some of the acids that are used during the conversion process. As well as showing how to neutralize them. Often we know people are concerned about the acids and what if there's acids left in this, and often, and especially even for me when I first started this, it was pretty obvious to me that not all acids, bubble up and go through the floor and suddenly you're looking down into, into the earth or something like that. And I feel that often that can sort of be the fears from people, and so we're here to sort of put you at ease, show you clearly, hey, this is what tausic acid looks like. This is some of the processes that we go through, and we can show you on a pH meter how we can see it go from acidic, not so acidic, back to neutral. And that is basically done by balancing the acidic with the basic. And so we use sodium bicarbonate, which is basic, typically around 8.4 pH. And then the tausic acid, once it's mixed with the water, you're looking at around 2.7 in acidity, which is pretty acidic. So we basically do a variety of what's called water washes, which is combining the highly acidic with the basic, or the highly acidic with the neutral, which is water. And we are going to be able to show you here today how that works. There's a lot of different ways that you can measure pH. Of course, there is the good old pH paper, and what you can see here is when we dip this paper into, whether it is water, whether it's acidic, it is going to naturally change to different colors. This is totally suitable for checking your pH. We actually go a little bit of a step further, and we actually have a machine here it's a digital pH meter from Thermo Scientific, where we can get an exact read for exactly what the pH is. And so the first thing to do with any of this equipment is to make sure that it is buffered correctly. And so what we're going to show you now is how to buffer the machine. First, you will see that we have a variety of different pHs. One is a pH of 4, one's a pH of 7, and another is a pH of 10. This allows the machine to be able to see clearly. First of all, we can see, oh, is this a little bit off? It might measure something that we know as a pH of 4 is actually now a pH of, let's say, 3.8. So we recalibrate the machine and we say, no, this is a 4. And that's basically how we do it. So we're going to show you both here today, compare them to each other. And so I'm going to bring you over here now and we can look at the different pHs. So, okay. So first here in this pink solution, we have a pH of 4.01 to be exact. Number 2, we have a pH of 7. And then in number 3, we've got a pH of, I believe it's 10. Yes, it is 10. And the beauty of this machine can take a little long sometimes. So the beauty is that now we've got the strips to be able to show you what also we're waiting. So first things first is we're getting the machine ready. We've got to calculate, and now we take it out of here. We take our electrode out. We always want to make sure that everything is clean using our lint-free strips. I'm just going to use it though. Okay, so as this is currently waiting to be done, we can also measure it with the pH paper. And so enter or accept buffer value. As you can see here, it is said that the value is 4.01, which is exactly what it is. It's actually just reading it again while we're waiting here. So let's just measure this right now. So as you can see here, we're hoping for an orangey color with what is what we're hoping for out of this, or what we will be shown is what I should say. Okay, now we have a look at it, and that is either going from a 2 to a 3. See, this is the thing, it gets a little difficult, right? When I'm looking at this, I mean, there's three different shades of orange. So for me, I mean, I look at that looks to me like more of a 2. It could be a 3. It doesn't look like the lightest of a 4 to me. We know that this is a 4 though. So as we will see here, this is the reason why we go a little bit more in depth than just you know, a piece of paper, because the grades on this for some may be clear. For me, it certainly isn't. And having 3 different colors of orange to choose is not really that preferable. Now, of course, realistically, the main thing you want to notice here is it's acidic, right? And do I need to know it's exactly 2.5 acidity? No. Really what my main concern is when we begin to wash this, that we see that the colors begin to change. And the main color that we want to come back to here is going to be green, which is neutral, which is for water. So we've got our water here, and as you can see, so I'll dip it here in the water. And as you can see, it's a pretty good color green. Maybe you could even say it's over here. So that's, again, maybe it's just me and my eyesight, but that's just, again, that looks pretty green there for 7. That's what it should be. Could be a lighter shade, but it's pretty dead on, I'd say, for the green. So that is, we can tell clearly that that's a pH of 7. So this here is just done, and we're going to accept that value. So now we're going to come back up here to number 2. We make sure to give everything a wipe with the lint-free paper. Okay, great. Now we go over to our second solution. And we go to next, and we go start. So again, really what we're doing here is just making sure that everything is calibrated correctly. This is actually overshot it a little bit. It's at like 6.9 and it's coming up now. But let's have a look, see here. So pH is 7, just like water, we want this to be green. And as we can see, there's a pH of 7. Now if we compare it to the previous one that we actually did of water, and it almost looks the same. Could be a slight shade darker, but you get the gist. So again, we're coming to here at 6.98. So I can just override this, and I'm going to put in the value, which we know here is 7.0. Accept. Calculation done. On to the next one. And the next one from here again. Clean. Let's go to number 3. We have currently reading in 9.6. So again, if this continues at this, I will want to make sure it's reading correctly at 10. So again, I'm going to dip this in here. And now let it dry out. And again, as you'll see here, I mean, maybe I'm just not the guy for the colors, but you know, okay, we know it's 10, we know that it's this one, but I mean, it's sort of open for interpretation a little bit on either side. And so again, it's just important to be able to see clearly with an electronic piece of equipment that will actually show it to me down to like 3 decimal places versus like, this is just not even a decimal place, right? It's literally just like, it's a full number. So now that we've completed that, we can see here this is taking its time. We go to override, and we put in here 10.0. Accept, calculations done. We're off to the races. So now we come back to the fun, and here is this is our tosic acid. As I said, often it is something whereby people are like, as I said, and maybe this is just me, but I always was like, you know, the acid that's going to fall on the floor and it could just burn through your skin. And there's absolutely, and I don't mean to say that saying like this stuff isn't dangerous, it absolutely is. And it's important that you handle it with care. At the same time though, you know, it's not as bad as I know, it's not like this huge toxic hazardous waste. Like this is the acid. It looks like salt, right? It looks like salt, and this is tosic acid. And what you will see here, and what we're going to show you, is we're going to change the pH of this with water. And after that, what you'll see is you'll notice that the pH has now gone up, and now we're going to bring it back down by using a base, which is sodium bicarbonate. So let's get right to it. So we are currently adding the tosic acid to the solution, which is at a pH currently of 7. We've added the tosic acid to the solution. Yeah, you can stick that there. We've added the tosic acid to the water. The water has a pH of 7, and as we will be able to see from this, you will see that we have now increased its acidity. So first I have a little bit of the water in here that we currently just, we haven't added the other to it yet. So you can see here, while we're waiting on that test result to come in. So as we, okay, so as you can see here, this is the color green, it's 7, there's water in here, it's neutral. And what we're gonna show you now is we've added the acidic tosic acid to this water, and you're now going to see a change in the color. So imagining it should be probably on the orange, one of these 3 on the orange side. Oh, well, look at that. Well. Look at that. So as you can see here, here's the previous. Here's the previous, which is the water, which is at a pH of 7. And now, as we've added, and I added a good chunk of the tosic, you can see now that this is red. This is highly acidic. We've completely changed the pH. And now actually what I'm also going to show you is some sodium bicarbonate, which is actually going to be on the other side, which is actually going to be more basic. So let me, as this is the thing, sometimes with this it takes its time. Okay, there we go, accept. So now what I'm going to do is that registered at like a 6.99, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of the sodium bicarbonate, and now we have the sodium bicarbonate that is actually quite basic, and its typical pH reading on this machine is around 8.4. So if we look at this now at the 8.4, we should be looking at a dark green, right? And so as you can see, there's the darker green. Here's the lighter green. And as you can see between the two of them, that's definitely a 7. That's definitely an 8. Although again, for me, it could be a 9. So now the whole question comes back to, so hey, when you're doing these extractions or when you're doing these conversions, and we will, when we are doing some conversions, I will show you how this works. But basically, when you have, let's say, your solvent and you have water, the two of them don't go together. And so you will have what's called basically your water washing it. It's your liquid to liquid extraction, where you combine all of those together in our 100-liter reactor. I can show it to you over there afterwards, and it naturally separates, and then from there we're able to remove a lot of the acid. And then when we also, every time that we add water to that solution, we are effectively changing the pH. When we add sodium bicarbonate and do that 3 or 4 times, we end up bringing that pH back to 0. Back to 7. Okay, so we have around 5 mils here approximately. Jarrell getting to work as always. And now we'll add the same amount here. And the main thing that I'm not going to be able to show you here compared to like in the reactor is in the reactor we can separate in the reactor what happens is that the acidic part of it is actually in the solvent. So imagine you've got your solvent above, you've got your water below, and so when you mix them together, they separate. In this case, because of the fact that we aren't using a solvent, this is actually going to combine together. So what I will have to do is I can add more water to it, but I'll have to probably show another demo where you can see the separation and obviously how we change that pH. So let's pour this into here. So now as we can see here, it's probably, and we'll see where it's at, but as you can see, we've already changed the pH. We've already begun to neutralize the acid. It's gone from, we have here the red. We had the red, which is where it started off, or you could even call it pink. We then added the basic solution, which was the green. And now we are coming back to this light lime green, which is telling me that is probably on a 6. So we would need to add a little bit more basic solution, or what we do is we would add more water. So just remember that water is always going to bring you back to center, which is 7. And that is basically it in a nutshell for you. We'll see what this reading is right now. So this reading is coming out at like 7.4. So it's saying it's on the higher side of green. So again, the higher side is 7 because we added a lot of the sodium bicarbonate, and it could have been better with the exact weights of the sodium bicarbonate versus the toxic. And so this is hopefully what will give you a clear understanding that you can no longer be concerned or worried about acid being in your DELTA-8. Now, I think it's always important for you to be able to ask your distillate providers or your cartridge companies or whoever it is, what is the pH of your oil? And if they can't tell you like that, I mean, you got to ask yourself those questions, right? I think they should know that right away. The pH should always be 7. And sure, it can swing a little bit either way, but more often than not, you'll notice that some of those swings, it's that there's still more water washing that needs to be done. And we are going to walk you through a full conversion together so that you have the data and you understand how to ask the right questions. Because more often than not, the customer isn't educated on exactly the questions to ask and doesn't know how to ask them, apart from like, do you have a COA for it? And there's really far more depth that goes into it. Like if you were to ask someone like, hey, so tell me like, what was your, like how did you do the conversion process? And if they're saying, oh, well, we use some clays, I'd be like, clays is not really what you want. And then I'd be asking, so how many water washes did you do when this is completed? And if they're like, we didn't do any, or we don't need to do water washes, I'd be highly concerned. And those are just questions where anyone can produce a COA. That's easy, right? Anyone can produce a COA. You need to be able to ask the questions. If they say, oh, well, guess what? I didn't actually make it. I didn't actually make it. Or, oh, actually, I'll ask the person who made it. Or I have to go back to the people who we actually purchased it from. And it's always important to keep that as close as possible, because when it's like, oh, I don't know, I'm just a sales guy, well, that's bullshit. And you as a salesperson, or you as a customer, you need to be able to ask these questions so that you can purchase safely. And I hope today was able to show you that. And we are going to repeatedly show you more and more and more of how we operate here at Owls, so that you, even if Owls isn't the right fit for you, you still know the right questions to ask when you are purchasing your Delta-8. As we're going through the lab, I'm realizing there's a hell of a lot of stuff that you probably want to know about, or at least want to be able to ask questions and learn about. So as I see a new piece of equipment or something that I think you could learn from, we're going to explain it to you. So first things first, this is called a rotary evaporator. What this does is it helps us to recollect our solvent. So when we, for instance, do our conversion process and we now have our Delta-8 crude and it's mixed in with hexane or heptane or whatever it is that we choose, we need to get that removed and we need to collect it. So as we'll see right now, Jarrell is actually just about to pour in some solution right here. And basically this is a mix of cannabinoids as well as methanol, as we were doing some winterization of some of our hemp products. And so what you'll see is this ball is going to go on the end here. It goes on the end here, we tighten it up, and then this here, the ball sits into here, and this is heated. And when this is heated, especially when it's under vacuum, being under vacuum lowers the boiling point of the solvents, meaning that at a lower temperature, we can, at a lower boiling point, we can basically, the higher temperatures mean higher amounts of degradation, or degradation? Degrading?
Degradation.
Degradation. Whoa, Luke. Degradation. And so basically at lower boiling points, the better. And so once we put it up to here, we've got these coils. These coils are attached to the chiller, and these have it's propylene glycol in there. So remember that? Remember the days of having like a WIC cartridge and they said, oh, this has got propylene glycol in it? Well, this is propylene glycol in here, and that's why when you start to ask those questions, why is there something like this being used for a vape? You know, you don't want that. So this basically, it sucks in through here under vacuum, which we have here. We have the vacuum here. The vacuum turns on, and as you can see, it comes the whole way up to here. It's pulling the vacuum, which you will be able to see here when we turn it on. And as it pulls out the solvents from here, which are naturally evaporating, it comes into here as a gas. Now, because of the cold, and this is chilled at like -8, it will recondense and it collects back in here. Now what happens is the heavier cannabinoids stay in this flask, and the solvent is recondensed over here. So let's put this bad boy together, Jarrell. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. And all you need is a lot of patience in the lab. A lot of patience in here. Okay, great. And then we come over to here. And as you can see, so we turn it on. Now we start applying the heat. We'll need a little more water going in here. And so we get the heat on. And in this case, we're using methanol. So methanol actually has a pretty low boiling point. As you can see here, we've got a list of different solvents. And methanol has a boiling point of 64.7. That's without vacuum. So under vacuum, it is even lower than that. So it's really good to have low boiling points, especially if you want to preserve some of your terpenes. Even though it's pretty difficult to preserve when you're in this situation, trying to pull off the solvent. But the main thing, as I said, is to be able to witness this and see how it works. And so you want to set the temperature. So temperature first, I'm going to bring this down. It doesn't need to be up there because it's methanol in here. So I'm going to set the temperature to 50. And then next is the RPMs. So we want this spinning so that it's actually the container, the ball, I should say, is being heated. And as the ball is being heated by the water, it evaporates from there and it gets sucked into here, and then it condenses on the coils and it goes to here. So now we don't have a vacuum, as you can see up here. There's no vacuum right now. So we're going to turn that on. And now, as you can see, the vacuum's going up. And let's see. Great. Let's check everything is good. The chiller. And as you can see, the chiller started. So the chiller, my mistake, wasn't turned on. So as you can see, this is recirculating. You can see the little bubbles. It's recirculating. It comes into here. It chills the propylene glycol. And if this isn't cold, then the solvent has nowhere to go. So there's a lot of heating up processing that's happening right now, and we can always come back and check and see how it is. Be safe, everybody out there. I hope you found this video informative for you. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. And if there's any other questions you want to know, that's also the other thing. If you're saying like, hey, I got XYZ question, what is this? I'll answer them for you, no problem. So let's leave it there. Thank you for watching, Owls. Peace. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this week's video. If you like the content and want to see more, please give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel to keep up to date with every new video as they're released. And don't forget to leave a comment if you want to be entered into our weekly giveaway to get some Owls products. Congratulations to this week's winner. Please make sure to reach out to us on Instagram to claim your prize. Thanks again for watching, everybody. See you next week.